Yesterday, his agent, they want $35 million a year. That's the Russell Wilson contract. He's not close to Russell Wilson. He's not as good an athlete. He doesn't have the arm. There are some stats. I saw a stat yesterday that said, he is the best deep ball passer, Dak Prescott, in the NFL. All right, dig a little deeper on the Dak stats. Here's a stat on Dak. He's the second quarterback in the last 15 years to throw 30 touchdowns and have 0 game-winning drives. Dak kicked the living you-know-what last year out of the Redskins and Giants. Hit almost half his touchdown passes against those guys. In his career, he's 13-3 against the Giants and the Redskins, who have both been rebuilding his entire career in Dallas. Dak is also 0-8 last year, trailing at half. He doesn't have the ability, when teams know he's going to throw, to lead them back. He's good with a running game. He's good with a lead. He's good on play action. Dak is Kirk Cousins. Nobody likes Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins is way cheaper now than what Dak wants to get paid. What's the difference? They both have excellent supporting cast talent offensively. They both have big stats, but when you deep dive on both their stats, they're great against bad teams and not very good against good teams. And quarterbacks are defined in this league not against Cleveland, but against the Ravens. The difference now between Dak and Kirk Cousins, Kirk's actually more accurate, and Kirk is willing to take a moderate pay change. Once Dak says, I want $35 million, my criticism gets much harsher. Dak at $29 million got your back. Dak at 35, 45 at the end, no thank you. He wins in the regular season. Andy Dalton has a winning regular season record. In a salary cap league, highly compensated quarterbacks don't win. Brady takes pay cuts. Drew Brees takes pay cuts. This is the way it works. The minute you pay your quarterback a lot of money, big trouble. It doesn't work. You can't fill the spots. So when people say you're harsh on Dak, I was a much bigger fan of Dak until the money changed. He wants a Russell Wilson contract. He's not Russell Wilson. He has made a living. 4 years, 1 playoff win. Isn't the knock on Kirk Cousins, who nobody likes, right? Everybody's always banging on Kirk Cousins. He's good, but he never wins the games against the good teams. That's become Dak. I want to see Dak in week 3 at Seattle. I want to see Dak in week 13 at Baltimore. I want to see Dak against the 49ers defense. Because the PFF today says the Cowboys have the 3rd best wide receiving core. Receiving core? I didn't think the receiving core is nearly as good as their running back or their own line. The receiving core's top 3? So it's not that I'm anti-Dak, but once you're now demanding Russell Wilson money, everything changes. It's just like my kids. I don't get mad at my kids much. But if their demands are, I want $500 a month allowance, we got a problem. If you want $5 a week allowance, $25. But you're asking for this, then Dad's got a problem with it. When the bigger your ask, you have to be so exceptional in pro sports, or my criticism ramps up. So when I look at the numbers, I look at Dak, I see Kirk Cousins. But Kirk now, he does not have a prohibitive contract. Jimmy Garoppolo no longer has a prohibitive contract. When you're making close to 28, other guy asked for 35. At the end, you want 45. Of course my criticism goes up. What we bang on Cousins for is what Dak's become. Trails at half, game over. Against the good teams, forget it. Beats up on the Giants and Redskins. In fact, I saw a stat here. I want to make this. Last year, half his touchdown passes, Dak's, 14 of 30 were against the Giants and Redskins. Come on. That's the knock on Cousins. He's great against the Lions. He's great, So, when I picked, and I said yesterday, I picked Cousins over him. It wasn't like, I had paused. It was like, but I start thinking about Cousins. He's more accurate, and he's taken a little bit of he's renegotiated his deal. You got to think about everything now. And so, there's the numbers for you right there on the graph. For the radio audience, they don't hear it, but put those numbers up so I can read these again, if you could. Just look at the numbers. Dak last year against playoff teams is 1-6. He's 7-2 against the garbage teams. He's 8 touchdowns, 8 picks against good teams, 22 touchdowns, 3 picks against the garbage teams. What do you want? If I did a blind resume, you'd say that's Kirk Cousins. So if I'm going to be hard on Kirk Cousins, And by the way, I blistered Kirk Cousins for 2 years when he was making like 28, and 28 meant something. Now 28's a break. If you could have a starting quarterback at 28, and Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, you get into that kind of good, solid, top 15-ish guy. They're good players. They're nice players. Derek Carr's a nice player. I mean, Kirk Cousins is a nice player. I don't think he's, elite, but that number to me on Dak changes everything. It's like, no. I'll take Andy Dalton. I'll take Andy Dalton's 85% of him. Good O-line. I'll save the $30 million. It just changes everything. Everything does. When you go in to buy a house, buy a car, buy anything, that's a nice looking carpet. Not for $9,000, it's not. $900, it's unbelievable. So we all have salary caps on our budgets. So do teams. The bigger the ask, the bigger the criticism.